Chito and Yuuri are ignorant. I don't mean that they're somehow stupid or slow, in fact they seem quite smart. I mean they fundamentally lack knowledge and information about the world around them. Part of the fascination of Girls Last Tour is relieving us of our own ignorance about their world, but I believe an even larger part, and truly what the show is all about, is witnessing their transition from ignorance to knowledge. Because while we can make inferences based on our experiences, upbringing, and context, Chi-chan and Yu don't have that luxury. In philosophy, John Locke came up with the idea of the tabula rasa, wherein he posits that the human mind is a blank slate from which experience imprints knowledge. Girls Last Tour exhibits this philosophy from its core, and in my opinion, it's a major tenet of where my enjoyment of the show comes from. By having Chito and Yu be ignorant, mangaka Takemizu is able to simultaneously develop them as characters, as well as comment on the nebulous nature of humanity. At its heart, Girls Last Tour is about nature versus nurture. Chito and Yu's backstories are made obscure, but as the show goes on, we begin to realize that they must have been very sheltered. Most proponents of John Locke's philosophy favor the side of nurture being the main decider to our personalities and behavior, and I think that Girls Last Tour supports this wholeheartedly. As Chito and Yu go about their last tour, they run into situations from which they're forced to define part of themselves, their relationship to one another, and different complex issues in the process. One of these is altruism, empathy, and the value of life. In episode 2, the pair come across a fish offhand and are enlightened to the delicious taste of grilled seafood. And although this scene is endearing and adorable, it's also set up for a huge emotional payoff all the way in episode 9. It's here that they find the last living fish that they know of, and Yu is forced to provide an answer to the question, what exactly is the value of a life, no matter how minor? This is a question that is still debated hotly today in the context of animal testing in pharmaceuticals. The fact that Chito and Yu haven't met another living being other than humans up to this point is extremely important, because they don't have the heuristic in their heads to know what life is or means. Yu's first knee-jerk reaction is to immediately want to eat the fish, because all she knows is that fish equal tasty. But as the robot attendant teaches the two about evolution, and the more Yuuri interacts with it, the more she is able to solidify her thoughts on the matter. We are witnessing her write on her blank slate. When the crisis occurs and she is faced with the fact that the fish might die, flashes of their journey assert themselves in her head. Because, in a sense, this fish is her. It has its own journey, its own struggle for existence. This is the basis of what compromises human empathy, the ability to relate to another living creature's struggles. And it is only after their chance encounter that Chito and Yu really think about life, and decide to put their own in danger in order to preserve it. Interestingly enough, this episode also brings up the tenuous definition of life. It's a question we'll have to ask as artificial intelligence becomes more and more advanced, and Girls Last Tour comments a bit on the potential of programming. A big moment is when Chito actually feels shame being naked in the presence of an inanimate object, when she doesn't exhibit the same inhibitions around just Yu. Because for all intents and purposes, the machines they find themselves in the company of are alive, with their own worries and goals that they seek to accomplish. You can see examples of experiences making their impact this way continually throughout Girls Last Tour and how they shape our protagonists' outlooks. They encounter the temple and discuss the value of religion and how it might provide a moment of reprieve. The encounter of Ishii contrasts with their earlier meeting of Kanazawa, and the two are forced to deal with futility and the blissfulness of despair with the caveat of having tried. The encounter of Kanazawa forces them to think about the meaning of life and what it means to live without purpose. And they're able to imprint upon Kanazawa that there are things in this life worth living for. Or as Yuuri says, you don't need a reason. There are nice things sometimes. I mean, just look at how pretty the view is. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe for more content. And of course, if anything I said was wrong, I'm sorry. I must have stuttered.